Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video guys, we're finally going to be doing at least the tier list, and I'm going to try to keep up with this one at least to make it a whole monthly ordeal. Now, there's a lot of characters we got to add to this tier list. There's a lot of characters that got to be moved around here. So I'm going to have the video kind of split up at least into the first half is going to be me moving around some characters. You guys already know exactly what they do. I'll do like a brief like saying on them, and at least a reasoning exactly why they're getting moved down or up, and then of course we're going to keep on going from there. The next part is actually going to be me actually explaining the new characters who've been added to certain tiers, because it's been a while for those characters. I think it's like been since Haru that we haven't really done this, so yeah, we have to really explain those characters, exactly why they're staying there and the whole reasoning for that. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video as always, and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out in the long run, especially for the channel. And if you want to be involved inside of my community or any of the community for P5X related things, be sure to join the Discord down below in the description. That Discord is going to be mainly for keeping you in touch with P5X related things, as well as my content in general. And if you do want to become a content creator yourself, of course, let me know, because we are going to be starting a content creator program in the at least Discord very soon to see if we can get more of you guys involved as well. But for now, let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to be taking a look at the actual tier list. Now, some things that are going to be different about this is the bottom tier is now called the uninstalled tier, and then we added a tier being S. Now, S plus is going to be the top of the top. S is going to be people who are stupid good still, and then we're going to go down from there. Uninstalled tier is only meant for pretty much one character, and I don't think I really have to explain that too much because of their usability and just what they contribute in general. So we don't really have to explain too much on that, but we have a lot of characters to move around. You can see at the bottom that we have at least 7 characters that we need to move in here. So we're going to try and take our time at least explaining exactly who's moving up, who's moving down, for what reasonings, and then we're going to immediately get to those characters first. So starting up for at least the top down, we're going to start off with the S plus tier. Now there's going to be some characters who are moving out of the S plus tier. There's going to be some characters that are going to be moving in to the S plus tier. I'm just straight up be honest with you. Top of S right now is actually not even the DPS. The top of S is definitely going to be Cord as well as Marion. I definitely find these two being better, and then we're going to immediately kind of follow up with what's it called? Follow up with our DPSs now. So DPS wise, the ones who stay at least inside of S plus tier is going to be Makoto here, and the one moving down is actually going to be going ahead being Yui. Now the reasoning for Yui moving down here is mainly her inconsistency of actual damage. You do have to do a lot for this character, and a dupe or so is kind of sometimes needed when it does come down to what you want to at least optimize her with. She's a very strong electric damage character, and she's the only electric damage like DPS that we really do have. She's really good, just her damage is kind of inconsistent, and over the time it's only been that way even more so. Now granted, she did get a buff, and it really makes her really good as well, to the point where she could very well fight for an S plus tier area, but S plus tier is where I'm going to try and keep the exceptional characters that undeniably are the higher type damage dealers and supporters of the game, who really bring a lot in here, as well as for the navigator. So we're moving her down at least one tier. Nothing too bad with this one here, but the next one that also hurts me is the moving down of Rin. Now Rin is one of those characters who is a S tier character. She's still really good for at least debuffers, really helpful, but as the updates have been coming out, Rin has been used less and less unless there is a substitution, right? Normally for where she was at, you would probably use her in the ice team mainly as a buffer, but that's about it. Now she is more and less a substitute in most teams here, just in case you don't have another character, and that's how she has always been. Does it make her worse than some of the characters that are out there? No, not really, but she is kind of lacking a little bit of her usage, at least currently inside of different teams. So unfortunately, she's going to be moving down to the S tier, where she most likely will probably stay, and still an amazing character, but not good enough to actually stay there, fortunately. Now one of the characters that we are actually moving out of the S plus tier as well is Puppet. She is our only defense actual navigator here that has still came out here, but unfortunately we're not moving her to S. We're actually going to be moving her to the top of A. The main reasoning here is because she's still a really good at least character. She's a really good candidate. The only reason why I don't want to put her at the S tier is because we actually have a lot of characters that are used way more often than her, especially in the upcoming updates we've been having, or at least the update that's been passing. We've been using them way more, and with the at least appearance of Icemont, or at least those teams here, the necessary need of having a defender navigator has now been less and less than how it used to be in the past year, where we really needed this character. We really needed to have that defense. Now you can really just nuke a lot of things, or really you won't need that sustainability coming from her, because we do have Icemont in our sustain team being really powerful, or we just have Cherish being really powerful as well as a defender, utterly making her defense navigator type deals a little bit useless. So unfortunately, she's moving down to the A tier section, but she's going to be at the top of A tier. No one's really going to be passing that. Now, going ahead, since that is done with the S plus tier of who we're moving out here, we're going to go ahead and start with the A tier, since no one's really moving in, or at least moving out of the S tier, since we just put that back in there. A tier, who's moving out of the A tier here? Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but my man, at least Soy, is going to be moving all the way out of the A tier, and he's going to be going down at least another tier here, which is going to be the B tier. Now, B tier itself, he's really powerful. He's still a good character. He's still a good option, but he's not good enough to really stay in the A tier section. We don't use this character for much at this point. Taunts aren't really needed too often, and defense shredding is no longer his type of deal. We have a bunch of characters that can now do some defense shredding. We have a bunch of characters that have some nice defense debuffs, and really having a defender isn't really that necessary right now, other than of course the man Cherish, in which he's always the pick besides Soy. So unfortunately, Soy is going to be moving down to the tier area here, in which we're going to have a lot of people who are going to be moving up from this area as well as moving down. So just keep him there, keep him at the back of your thoughts, and know that he's pretty darn good, just he's not there all the way. Now for A tier, we don't want to have A tier too clear, or at least clogged up here. Some characters that are moving out of the A tier section actually are none of these guys. Like moving downwards, they're not going to be moving down. In fact, some of these dudes are going to be upwards here, being that actually they are very powerful. So went ahead and checking out some of the characters that are going to be moving up into the A tier, or at least moving up out of the A tier section. That is going to be Phoebe. Now Phoebe is one of these characters that is now a S plus unit. This reason for this is because she's absolutely utilized in every last team. You will usually have her inside of the first, at least I want to say the first row of characters, or you will have her in the second row of characters for SOS. She's never really going anywhere. There's always a place that this character is used, and she has plenty of useful options to really go about in this area. So without a doubt, this character has definitely proved their worth staying, or at least going up into the S plus tier. And I definitely believe she's really strong enough to actually keep that spot here. Coming along with at least a character that is going to the S tier immediately here is actually going to be Vino. Vino has also been proving herself as a major debuffer who's really good. She's actually proved herself to be very useful. No matter how you dice it, no matter how you slice it, she's going to stay at least in the S tier section, and she will keep you at least afloat. The only thing that her at least downside is going to be her HP values, but normally if you're just going with effect hit rate as well as HP values, you're really keeping her kind of optimized in that section. She can be a beefy debuffer that really helps out your team a lot, which you're always going to see inside of SOS quite often. Now with this in mind here, of course, we're going to have a few other characters who are going to be joining her. The ones who are going to be behind her are just going to be characters that are also just as good, but the only issue is they kind of lack a lot in the section of them just being really good here, or at least the section of them being crazy good. So some of these characters, unfortunately, is going to be Yusuke, Closer, and Joker. Now, I hate to put at least Closer and Joker behind Yusuke. The main reason that we're doing this is, of course, with at least Closer and Joker here, they are characters that deal a decent bit of damage, but you do need a decent bit of dupes for them to actually deal that crazy amount of damage. As for Yusuke himself, he's already at the top for a sustained team. His team has always been used quite often. He gets reruns recently, even in SOS. The man has actually done really good and have came back once again. I think he was here for at least 2 SOSs, which was quite annoying because I was missing a couple characters for that. But this character is actually really good. The only thing is he is a little bit washed. He doesn't do a lot of his critting, or at least a lot of his follow-ups, unless you have that A1, which makes him literally a little bit at the back of the pack, which is why I put him behind Vino, because Vino at the end of the day is a 4-star who can really do a lot of her things early on, while at least Yusuke needs to have that at least S1 to make, or A1 that makes him a little bit better. As for the other two being Summer Closer and Joker, they are really good characters. The only issue is both of them are kind of lackluster comparing to the other DPSs. They actually deal some decent damage, but you do want to have their dupes in order to actually really deal more of that monstrous type damage that are with them. Does this make them bad? Of course, no, it does not. With the actual buffs that we've seen from Joker, he's been absolutely amazing. Still an S tier character, but with the characters that are in front of him, they are a little bit better than him, obviously. And with the characters that are under him, they're a little bit worse. So we're gonna have to keep it that way as well. So now going to the B tier, some characters that are going to be moving up out of here. Another person is actually going to be joining the S tier section here, and that is actually going to be the girl Moko. Summer Moko at first was not utilized too often. She was one of those characters that I felt was kind of iffy here, but she has actually climbed her way to the 3rd area of the S tier section. This character can be used in a lot of different teams. She helps out with the attack buffing and the EHR section of different teams here. And her follow-up actually heals for a decent bit now that we've had the buffs that we needed. So without a doubt, this character has proved herself being at least a S tier character. And without further ado, I think that's all we really got to go about her. The next S tier character that we're going to end up going about, or at least talking about here, is going to be Rico. Now, Rico is one of those characters that is actually really good here. I'm going to put her above Joker. That's mainly because of her usability. Unlike Joker, where you only utilize him every so often, and you would usually only be utilizing him if you have him duped out, Rico herself is actually utilized no matter how you dice it. She takes down toughness stacks, and she is actually a very helpful for a navigator type deal, and she's a 4-star. 4-stars are really easy to get their dupes, so really you don't have to worry about getting those dupes as much as the 5-star character. She proves her worth very easily, making it very known that she can do a lot of things, at least when it comes down to at least usability. The next character that we're going to go ahead and take a look at and move out of the B tier characters is actually going to be the man Leo. Now, Leo is another one of these characters that has proved himself very worth, or at least worth a lot here, and that's mainly because of the buffing that he has in hand, and he is going to be above at least, I want to say, Moko as well as Ren. Now, with this in mind, now that I'm thinking about it here, we're actually going to move down Ren till maybe, I want to say, here area, and keeping at least Vino. Yeah, we'll put Vino behind her. We'll do something like that. But the reason why that we're keeping Leo up here is because Leo is the only crit damager in the game currently that's actually really helpful for a lot of our DPS teams. And with the arising of us actually utilizing a lot more crit rate, crit damage based teams here, he actually is used quite often for some higher scores in SOS, as well as just different things that we do, whether it's events, harder dungeons, or harder, like, I want to say, palaces. Those are going to be mainly where he shines out, especially for those huge nuke damage type deals. You want to make sure that he is helping you with those buffs, so you can just nuke anything in front of your base here, and that is what he really does, and he proves himself to be very useful even after the buffs that he's got. So without further ado, I think that's the best way that we can kind of wrap up the S tier. There's no one who actually is on this list besides, of course, the bottom characters that'll be added there. But wrapping up the S tier section, let's go ahead and see who's in the B tier section, who's going to be going to the A tier side of things. So moving up to the A tier side, I would like to say a couple characters are going to be moving up here, and that is actually going to be the usability of at least Riddle and the usability of at least the girl On. Now, On here, without a doubt, she's a really good character. One of the reasons why I want to move her up is because with her actual buffs and things that she actually has, she does a lot of damage, especially with at least little investment. She does a ton of damage here. She helps you cheese a lot of content, especially if you're newer, and she still is relevant to today, especially if you are a newer person playing the game. She can help you get through a lot of mementos, in which I experienced this and utilized this to the max on at least my free-to-play account. This character is absolutely amazing. If you can get her up, of course, that's great. If you can't and you don't have any dupes for her, she still is absolutely amazing. Get that 5-star weapon, boy, she actually proves herself useful. She's mainly a good little attacker, of course, that you want to have here, but there's nothing much that I have to really say about that. As for at least the girl Riddle here, she did move up one. Unfortunately, she did not move down, because this character, well, fortunately, she didn't move down. This character is actually really good as well, though her usability is kind of in the mud, seeing that a lot of things for her is still kind of iffy. and we have other characters that can do what she does but better. Floret is also going to stay in front of at least Riddle because recently he's been getting used a lot more, especially in different teams such as the Win team, and I'm pretty sure with everything that he's able to do, he's most likely going to continue being used inside Win teams, being a very helpful asset. So we are now officially done with the A tier. No one else is going up to the A tier that is part of this. We can go ahead and start working our way down. Going to the top of B tier, of course, is going to stay Soy. Then, of course, the next one is going to be Mona and Okeon. These three are all going to stay in the B tier. They're pretty solid characters, but you don't use them all too often. Okeon's kind of one of the few that you may use, but the only place I use her really is with Mesa. So you won't really utilize her too much. She's still really powerful, but she's kind of one of those characters that you kind of use every so often. Moving at least up to the A tier area or the A tier section are both these two, being Mont, Skull. Both of these characters are absolutely amazing. At the end of the day, Skull is actually way more useful than Mont. The only issue that we have with both these characters is one of them takes a lot to actually really invest into to actually make really useful, being Skull, while the other one you can have fully invested into, but she doesn't deal too much damage whatsoever to really help out her case, furtherly taking down her character. This is something that I've thought about for quite some time, and I was like, you know what, she's going to be the bottom of B tier, at least at this point. And it does make me a little sad on that end, but all in all, I don't think it's too bad. So I think you guys should definitely at least think about that here when it does come down to this, but we'll see exactly how that goes, and we'll see exactly what you guys' thoughts on that as well. So going ahead and actually moving to the C tier, there's new people who are going to the C tier here. And I do want to go ahead and say these characters, they are useful, they have been buffed, but they're not as used as most characters here. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at this. Top of C tier is immediately going to go down at least to our man Rafaru. Rafaru here himself is actually really good as well. He helps out with the fire teams as well. The only thing that makes him a little bit better than Key as well is the fact that he can actually heal. He can heal us. He can also stop enemies from healing, so that immediately has gotten him a little bit of buff, especially after he got buffed as well, making him a higher tier unit on at least the C tier. The next character that I really want to go ahead and take a look at is going to be Key. The reason why Key is in the second position for this team here is mainly because of Howler and them, as well as the fire team if you decide to use it. Luckily, him and Howler actually do coexist with each other, especially with On there. So utilizing all three of them, you actually have yourself a really powerful fire team. The only thing is Key only brings a lot of those debuffs. He doesn't bring any little sustainability like Rafaru. Well, Rafaru can go into the fire team as well, but he's mainly going to be there for at least some heals. He's going to be there for at least those, making sure they can't really heal too much. But do keep in mind, Howler can do the make sure they can't heal type deal, the healing receive type deal as well, which is why Rafaru kind of stays in this bottom section, but he's still more useful seeing the fire team is kind of squishy. So needing that healing is definitely needed more than having some extra debuffs from Key. So he's going to be behind him as well. The next two characters who are probably going to be going ahead and going up, or at least the next character who's going to be going up here, is actually going to be Closer. Surprisingly enough, this character is utilized a little bit whether it comes down to Velvet Trials. She's not really used too much in any other section, but Velvet Trials, you actually do need her for some of the harder stages here, making her usability actually kind of worth it. She also is pretty decent if you're restarting the game, or at least starting the game itself. She can be kind of helpful, but her at least use in most teams is kind of iffy because she's kind of out of place. So you do have to kind of find a part where this character can be used. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but still worth it nonetheless. Now going immediately down to D tier, there's only going to be two characters that are down here, and that is going to be of course Seiji, and then of course the girl, I have to always remember her name sometimes, Yuki. These two characters are absolutely amazing. The only reason why I'm not putting Seiji in front of at least Yuki here is mainly because we don't know when his actual time will come again where he's actually useful. For SOS, he did come in handy for quite some time, but the issue was that was a actual mistake by devs, and they didn't mean to make the HP scaling that high for that time, and we don't know when they're ever going to do it again if they decide to do it again, making his overall use absolutely kind of disgusting, not really needed. While Yuki here, she still is a fill-in for at least our man Yusuke's team, and so she will be staying in the position she's at. Moko is staying in uninstall. That's just gonna happen. But all in all, that's everyone moved around here. Now we can get some more of the hyped up stuff that we wanted to get to, and that is just the new character. So starting off to the S plus side of things, who's going into S plus, who's not going to S plus, and I'm going to start off with the man Mesa. Mesa, without a doubt, is going into S plus, and the reason why I'm putting this guy into S plus here, freaking stellar. He's awesome. Hold on, sorry, I had thinking off for a second. But Mesa himself is absolutely amazing. He does a ton of things for the teams, or at least his own team, which is actually crazy strong no matter how you look at it. Hold on, actually, you know what? Give me a second to take a break because my throat's dying. All right, so I had to take a break from speaking for a second because I started like absolutely dying for a quick second. But going back to Mesa, this man is absolutely amazing. He does a lot of things for his team here, and he is one of the highest type hitting damagers in the game here. Of course, he still is behind Makoto when it does come down to the factor, but boy, oh boy, does this not shadow, or at least overshadow, what he really can do. This character himself came out, I want to say, right after, I think it was at least right after kind of like Haru in them as well, or either maybe you got my time just kind of messed up a little bit. It's kind of a blur when we think of these characters, but this character here has brought in more than enough. He is a physical damaging character who is a single targeter, but this physical damaging character brought in the new type deals when it comes down to the mechanics of another form switch character, just like Makoto, but also the mechanics of bleed. This character's bleeds act as almighty damage for the most part, and although he does require EHR to really be good, he also requires a lot of attack, and this makes him really, really strong. Without a doubt, this guy, especially with the two, at least I want to say the two forms he has, being the executioner form and being at least his regular form, those two are absolutely amazing. He goes absolutely insane no matter how you look at it. Hunter form and executioner are probably the best type deals for this man's damage, and boy does he hit some high number. I want to say without a doubt, if you can get him duped up as well, you're going to be hitting some really high damage markers. And after, of course, you do have his weapon being Crimson Weaver, it actually makes him really powerful, seeing it helps out with his pin rate, the damage dealt, and attack dealt. Without a doubt, this character is one of those characters that is probably not going to be moving anywhere, seeing he did bring in some two heavy comps here, which is DLT and physical damage type teams. This guy's not moving anywhere, and boy, he's definitely worth pulling up. So without a doubt, he goes to the S plus tier function, and I think a lot of you guys may actually agree with that as well. All right, so coming down to the next character that's actually going to be joining the S tier function here, that's going to be Futaba. Now, Futaba is a navigator, but she is going to be the third best when it does come down to the S plus tier. That's mainly because she has a lot that she can get done. I mean, a ton. She, without a doubt, helps out attack, crit rate, crit damage. It shall I go on. This character even brought in the new aspect of weakness implants. That is a huge deal, especially in this game. It was a huge mechanic that has recently added, and normally you wouldn't think to see something like that, right? If you guys don't know exactly what weakness implant is where you're actually able to actually implant or designate another weakness ability to at least whatever you're fighting here. So let's say the boss is only weak to fire or weak to ice here. Well, depending on who you're buffing, let's say I'm buffing Kazumi, for example, the blessed character. Well, I buffed it with the skill 3. Now that boss is now afflicted with a weakness of bless, or if, let's say it's resistance to bless, it's now normalized to bless. If it is normalized to bless, it's now weak to bless, and so on and so forth. So that was something that was really huge that at least Futaba herself only can do, and it's just one of the few things that she really excels at. This character as well helps you out no matter what, with just crit rate increases being off of her A1. She helps you with just at least being able to decrease enemies' defenses, help out your attack, and just do a lot more than you normally would be doing with just not having this character. She's one of the best navigators, if not the best navigator to have. And as all navies do, she shares, of course, her stats around with everyone else, being very, very helpful with their attribute improvement. This character, without a doubt, has to stay at least in the S plus tier, and I don't think we'll be going anywhere for a very long time as well. So you guys let me know what you think about that one. So moving on to the next character here that's coming at least into the S plus, at least S plus land here. I almost said zone. It's like, gosh, can't even speak for a second. But that's coming into the S plus land. That is actually going to be the girl. What is it called? Mont. Now this is the 5-star Mont variant here. She's really powerful, but I don't think it's powerful enough to actually Mesa out or beat at least Makoto out. This character, without a doubt, is absolutely amazing. You guys have probably seen my videos where I complain a lot about her, but she does the job. Without a doubt, she is a very, very powerful character. Once you do get her the crit and do actually her rotations correctly, she can be a huge powerhouse character. You have dupes on her, she's even better. The only issue is, for me specifically, she doesn't like to crit a lot, so you do have to invest her a ton into crit, especially if you do want this character to act the way that she's acting. So that really shouldn't be all too hard. She's really good for a follow-up character. I would say it's probably better than Bowie in that aspect, giving her Bowie's spot inside of the S plus tier. All in all, I definitely say this is a good choice, or at least a good choice, but you guys let me know down below in the comment section how you guys feel about this. Going into the next character that should be at least in the S plus area, and I don't think anyone's really going to complain about this one. In fact, this is going to be Kazumi. Now, Kazumi is one of the characters that I'm just going to straight up put above at least Makoto here. She does the most damage in the entire game pretty easily at A0 R0. This character can quite easily go ahead and just hit 1 million damage like it's nothing, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. She brought in, of course, the new aspect, less damage, how it is now, and with this aspect, boy, she does some crazy. Alongside with this, she also has something different in highlights that doesn't take up your highlight bar, which is called the masquerade mode, which no other character does have this, where she not only helps out herself with posture stacks and does damage, but that ult can actually crit. Unlike other highlight ultimates here, she is the only one who can actually crit, and this is a huge deal when it does come down to it. Doing multiple things or multiple functions for damage and keeping your highlight for it. There's no tax for actually utilizing her highlight. It just takes a little bit to build her up, but not long enough to the point that it makes her absolutely useless. This character, without a doubt, stays in at least the S plus section, and I don't think anyone's gonna really regret me saying that. And she definitely does the most damage when it does come down to it. But all in all, that's how we're gonna at least rank her. Let's go now to the S section, where a lot of characters are going to be placed here. Now the S section, this one being at the top of the S list here, I'm immediately going to put the man Cherish. Now Cherish is absolutely amazing. He's one of these few characters that kind of divvies between Bowie and at least being the top of the section. Reason why I'm going to put him at the top of the section is, unlike Bowie, where we have to kind of guess if she's going to hit her crits or if she's going to set up correctly, Cherish doesn't need to set up correctly. The man already is set up the perfect way. This gives you absolutely sustainability, like out just the wazoo. He helps a lot with at least different defense mechanics. He helps a lot with just keeping your team sustained. You don't have to have a ton of defense characters to make this guy work. No, he just works initially on his own, and he is worth it. He brought in, of course, some things that are new, much like his Valor and Justice Oath, that really does help your whole team, at least with damage taken. He's able to actually help you sustain even more so when it does come down to this. He also is mainly built off of defense, so the more defense you have on him, the better. He helped out a couple teams, such as, of course, the one with Mont and the one with, of course, Yusuke. Both of these characters are really used a lot today and really do require a Cherish for those teams. This character, without a doubt, you don't need any type of other defense mechanisms. You just really need him. He also provides Holy Protection, which actually helps out your entire team as well, seeing that no matter what, you're going to have a ton of defense, you're going to have those shields, you're going to have effect resistance. All of this is going to be applied with this character, and it changes a ton, unlike without having this character, where it definitely is going to be a little bit abysmal. I decided to put him at the top of S plus tier, because, or at least the S tier here, because no matter what, you get this done. You don't need to have dupes for it. Having the weapon is absolutely stellar, and you don't even need to have that, if I'm being honest. He does more than enough being no dupes at all and just being very, very helpful. And this is something that he can do out the gate without really having to build all too much into him. So without a doubt, he's definitely staying at the top of S tier. Let's go on to the next character. And the next character we're going to be going ahead and actually reviewing here, this is going to be Haru. Now Haru herself, the reason why she is at more of the back section of at least the S tier, I kind of want to put her above Closer. And that's mainly just because she hits stupid hard. The only reason why she's not at the top of the S tier section mainly, and why I put her behind the Yusuke here, is because of how much you really need to really make this character work, right? Yusuke can work with 4 stars, he can work without many dupes, but he is kind of off and on with his follow-ups. Haru, on the other hand, quite literally cannot work if you don't have certain like requirements. One of those requirements is you need to have Boko. You need to have her 5-star weapon. Like, you can do it with her 4-star weapon, but boy oh boy, it's gonna be hard. And with that 4-star weapon, instead of getting the 5-star weapon, you're going to need to heavily build this character with her card set. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She is a really strong character. She hits some top tier numbers, especially being A0 R0, much like mine. She hits some really top tier numbers. She's one of our only, if not our only, psychic damager. Just she kind of comes low when it comes down to at least the building process. This character's unbelievably hard to actually get to the amount of EHR that she needs, and there's a lot of prerequisites that you kind of want to go ahead and specify when it does come down to this character. All in all, she is a really good character. She's a huge freaking staple when it does come down to this game. The reason that's why I'm keeping her into the S tier, though she's one of those DPSs that are really straining when it does come down to her team. So it's the only reason why she's kind of back here. Granted, she could be moved up a little bit more, but I didn't want to play it too biased there and put her at the top of this, because there are some things that without having on this character can really make her experience a lot worse. But some of you guys may disagree with this. Whether you disagree or not disagree, it is what it is. Of course, let me know down below in the comment section if you feel like she's a little too low in the S tier area, or is this a just right position? Now, going to the last character, this is going to be Howler, and as much as I love this character, there will be no bias with this one. Unfortunately, she's actually going to be fitting right in between here with Vino as well. The main reason that we're putting her here is because Vino is really good here, but Howler can do that at A0 with some things that are minus, at least in her kit. She's a very helpful debuffer, provides follow-ups as well, and is very helpful in most teams. Even now, she's being used in most of the top tier teams, and the top scoring teams is actually using her over Vino at times. The only issue with this character is she does need to have some dupes to be absolutely stellar, which is a little bit of a problem for some people. But the good part is the character at the end of the day is a standard character. So with this in mind, she really kind of can just take that spot, especially if you can just get her off the standard banner herself. With this, she brought in 2 aspects, whether they're follow-ups for a single target or follow-ups for an AoE type move here, which both are going to be based on her attack off base or the basis of her EHR. The more EHR she has, the more attack she's going to gain. So this is actually going to be really helpful. And of course, based on the follow-up that she does do, will depend on the debuffs that she acquires, or at least how lethal those debuffs will be. So this character is really good. She brought in even 2 more teams, being the fire team coming back immediately, and then of course the follow-up team happening here, which is why I like to put her at least here for a debuffer. I feel like to some extent she could be better than at least Ren, but Ren still has a lot of her uses, especially when it comes down to her forget uses as well, which is why I have to put her a little bit below Ren, unfortunately. This character, without a doubt, is still really strong. She's really good here, but I think that's where she's gonna sit, at least for the term of A0 or R0. She's really gonna sit there. You probably have her duped out. She's probably stupid stronger than Ren, and probably better in all types, shapes, and forms. But I want you guys to let me know down below in the comment section. Do you think this is true? Do you think this is true? And I just really want to know. And then I guess this will, to appease some people here, we'll just have a row up here, and I'm going to put this as the wonder row. So first of all, put that back as how it was. 2, I guess we'll put this as the wonder row, specifically for the man Wonder, because some of you guys were like, why is Wonder not on this here? Wonder is quite literally just one of those characters that will, no matter what, go in. So both this character, no matter what, he's always going to be in team. This is how it's going to be. But all in all, this is our tier list. This is how we're going to be going about it. This one took a lot longer, seeing we had a lot of characters to really look at. But hopefully you guys find this very interesting. You find this useful. If you did, please do smash that like button, which for heck, subscribe if you are new. We do daily Persona 5X videos. Until next time, everybody, peace out.